Good day, America. From Houston, Texas, I'm Colonel Roy Morales, exposing the truth from City Hall to the State Capitol to the White House. On today's program, an update on Governor Rick Perry's flat tax plan. Could this tax plan be the silver bullet for the campaign, or just more smoke and mirrors for Rick Perry? The flat tax was at the heart of the Steve Forbes presidential campaigns in 1996 and 2000. Unfortunately, it was not at the hearts of Americans. At the Harris County Executive Meeting in 2007, visiting Governor Mitt Romney was asked if he was for the fair tax. He responded that he leaned more towards a flat tax. I guess we'll hear more from these candidates in the next few weeks about taxes. And today, we're fortunate again to have a candidate for the City of Houston elections. This time, Scott Boatz, candidate for City Council at Large Position 1. So don't touch that remote. We'll be right back. Welcome back to We the People. On our last show, I discussed Governor Perry's plan to announce the details about his flat tax plan. Yesterday, at the Western Republican Conference, Texas Governor Rick Perry announced he'll be coming out with his flat tax plan, a tax plan probably similar to former presidential candidate Steve Forbes' plan. In 2000, Bob Dole pointed out that a flat tax could increase your taxes by as much as $2,000. Yes, $2,000 more to the Federal Reserve, a private institution. Then came along the fair tax, which was supported by presidential candidate Mike Huckabee. The fair tax would repeal the 16th Amendment and the flat tax would not. The fair tax would also require no personal filing, while the flat tax would still require that April 15th filing by Americans. The fair tax is more of a national consumption tax. I had a problem with the fair tax because it would have a sales tax on the sale of your home. I'm going to say it again. How about no personal income tax at all and going back to a tariff? Maybe we could pay off the Federal Reserve with the products that are imported by China. America, it's time to recapture our manufacturing capabilities. And guess what? We might even be able to be a producing country again and start hiring Americans at decent wages. Next is Houston City Council candidate Scott Boatz, candidate at large, position 1. So don't touch that remote. We'll be right back. Welcome back to We the People. Now, we have the opportunity to have a candidate for the City of Houston elections at large, position 1, Mr. Scott Boatz. And Scott, thank you for coming today.
Roy, thank you for having me.
Well, I appreciate it. Maybe you don't know this, but a few years ago, I ran for position 1.
Is that right?
Against Peter Brown.
Okay, all right,
It was
Peter Brown.
first time that I ran, and Peter thought he was going to win that election at 7:05 p.m., and we kept him up till about 2 o'clock in the morning. What do you think about that?
Good for you. That's some work.
Well, Peter was a chameleon. He always tried to portray himself as a Republican.
Okay.
And I think you're facing maybe the same situation in your case this year.
You know, typically Republicans don't create taxes, much less raise them, but that seems to be what my opponent, Mr. Costello, has done,
Well,
create a new tax.
we're going to talk about a little bit about that.
All right.
But the one thing I always remind candidates, because when I gave a presentation when I was running, I'd always forget my website. So here's an opportunity to tell the voters where they can find out more about you.
Well, I'd like you to go to scottboatesforcitycouncil.com. That's scottboatesforcitycouncil.com, just one word.
Well, that's great. That's great. Now, how many are in your race now? We were just talking earlier, but sounds like you've had an addition there. So is it 4?
There are 4. I'm third on the ballot of 4. Costello's first, followed by James Parsh Galvan, who runs a lot, and then Don Cook, who's with the Green Party, is at the bottom.
Okay, okay. Well, you know, we met for the first time at a group I've been part of since 2005. That's the Houston Property Rights Association.
Yes.
And I was glad to meet you there. Can you tell the voters what you're about, what your platform's about?
Well, Roy, first and foremost, it's important that we repeal the drainage tax. The drainage tax keeps businesses from wanting to work in the city of Houston, and the businesses we have are fleeing the city because the tax is so high. But it's not just the effect on businesses. Homeowners have been misled. It was supposed to be $5 a month was the expected fee, and we're seeing up to $50, $60 a month. My opponent, Mr. Costello, told a group recently that he wasn't upset because he's only paying $3 a month. But the rest of us, we're stuck with $60 a month or so. But the great problem with the drainage tax is it chases business out of the city of Houston. It discourages people from wanting to live here, and it's a regressive tax. That is, a multi-million-dollar condominium will pay much less, if any, drainage tax than, say, a $60,000 ranch-style home in Sunnyside or Acres Home or wherever. It's not a fair tax, but that's my priority, is to get rid of the drainage tax.
Right, right. Well, to me, it just seems like another property tax. So that's really what it's all about.
Absolutely, it is absolutely.
And we pay, I believe, over 0.6%, I believe, for our tax rate in the city of Houston.
Yes, and we've got the second highest water rates as it is in the country. And of course, we have another rate that's been approved that comes up next year. But everything in this city is increasing from the city point of view. That is, we're paying more and more for fewer services.
Well, I think there was a mayoral candidate in 2009 that said the water bill is going to go up at least 30%. And you know what? He was right.
He sounds like a smart guy.
I wish I was wrong, though.
I understand, Roy.
I'm having to pay for it.
Yeah, we all are.
But you mentioned something earlier, and I want to touch on that, and that is that all elected officials need to be leaders, and we have to uphold the highest ethical standards, and that's part of your platform, isn't it?
Yes, the city or people who in government cannot be a silent partner with contractors, because then there's obvious conflict of interest where you're looking toward profit motive from policy rather than doing the greatest good for the greatest many. And so if people in government, like my opponent, Mr. Costello, is a silent partner with all these contractors, and he is, millions of dollars in contracts, estimated up to $50 million in contracts out there. He's made over $1 million in fees from the city while sitting on council. What we get is policy that indeed favors individuals and drives businesses and residents outside the city.
Well, can you confirm that it was either his business or as a subcontractor gain profit for this?
Yes, and he's admitted it as much. He doesn't hide it, and he's on the campaign trail explaining to everyone that he is Mr. Renew Houston, and the contracts speak for themselves, but he's not shy about it.
Well, this is what the state statute says, because I own my own business as well, and I'm an elected official. And it states that if you're going to gain profit out of a potential contract, you have to basically abstain, and it's actually more than abstain. You have to get off of your elected seat, walk away, and go into the audience, and you can't say a word during the debate.
Yes.
If I recall, didn't Mr. Costello make the motion for this drainage tax, followed by Pennington with the second?
He did. He drafted it, and then he turned around and funded it with $90,000 of his own money. Yes.
But didn't he also make a vote?
He did cast the vote.
Well, and that's where I have a problem. We know that HEC has been under investigation with their trustees with actually voting on a project that they were somehow tied to that contractor. And what's funny is, when Republicans do it right, they sign the ethics form, they say that they're part of a contractor, the contractor is going to submit a proposal, and then walks off stage from the elected position, and then a board doesn't listen to them, like in my case, it seems like you get penalized for doing the right thing.
It does seem that way.
People that do the wrong thing, you know, can ask for permission. And, you know, that's a good saying in the Navy, nothing against the Navy now, but in the Air Force was always ask permission, and of course in some services it says ask for forgiveness for later. So, but
yes.
We'll talk more about this when we come back. Don't touch that remote. This is We the People.